No, and more about gel coat.
When the fourth round would...
Don't you call in the... More importantly, he knew what he was talking about.
Oh, does it look good already? Okay.
Jumbo Scampi for limited...
All for a price that will make you...
How the hell am I supposed to pay?
This is Rick Simpson, and you're listening to People for People Radio, the voice of truth in Scotland.
Good evening, everybody. This is Thursday Roundtable Show with all lovely people with us. We've got today Patty, beautiful Patty, Barbara, wonderful Barbara, Stefan and Star, wonderful people too, and myself, Lizzie. Barry Prince is joining us too, and hopefully Lyra and Grace and maybe a few other people may join us too. So wonderful. Good evening to all. This is People for People Roundtable Thursday show. Here we go, guys. Who wants to start? Barbara, would you like to take the lead?
Well, thank you. That was okay. I was just hanging out here, just waiting for everybody else to see where we're going to go today. So, yeah, hi everybody out there. It's really good to be here today and out here on Turtle Island and with all you people out there wherever you are in the world. Welcome. And to People for People. And so, yeah, we have a good panel today. Let's see where we're going to go. And I think Vanessa's saying if you guys have any questions or any comments, put them in full caps so we can kind of keep track of them and maybe respond and help you out that way. Well, let me see. I just happened to be looking at this. I'm going to just start with what was right present in my mind when we all got together here. I was looking at this video that my sister Patty popped up a couple of days ago. I thought, let me get back to it. And talking about the elongated skulls that have been found all over the world now, it appears. And at first it was only, I guess, in Peru, and the authorities that I call, well, the scientists that I call the authorities, or the archaeologists, or those in the know, have been saying that, well, it's a tradition that the people take a baby, an infant, and they wrap their skull with some, fabric to tighten it and keep tightening so that it elongates the skull. And, I think that is a tradition too, but I think these particular skulls that we're talking about or seeing in museums, and I didn't know this, that a lot of them that have actually been found in caves in Iran, which is very fascinating. And numerous of these skulls have red hair or strawberry blonde hair. And there's many of us that have been talking about this type of thing and trying to equate it to off-planet beings or visitors or whatever is going on. So we're just talking about those things. So that was what was on my mind, because myself, was born with strawberry blonde hair. And everyone in my family has very dark hair, if not black, pitch black hair. So I was sort of like, popped in there from somewhere. And now I just got this piece again that the DNA, or let's say segments of the DNA of the strawberry blonde elongated skull infant that they did tests on, show that this DNA, the segments of their DNA, does not match to anything human. So that's got me thinking. Anyway, just want to say that to start out with. And yes, I did have my ET experiences very early on, and I know some of you also have. So I don't know if we want to go that route or anything you guys want to go into. I'm here for ya.
Well, I think that's a wonderful topic to start with, Barbara. It is a very interesting one indeed. And I think there's a bit of both, obviously, in my opinion. There's obviously the ET connection there. In my opinion, it is a very obvious thing, but it's also that what you just mentioned, that people did used to sort of do that binding the skull from very young. But I think what they were trying to do was emulate the, between brackets, gods, because they were not gods, they were aliens, that they worshipped or that were around them. What do you think? Do you agree with that? It's sort of an emulation, a worship sort of thing.
Yes, I came to that conclusion as well, Lizzie, and I just popped in the link to this new. I just found this too, that scientists have found in Germany um, these mystery, bizarre, elongated skulls found in Germany. 1,500 years they lay buried among the relics of medieval Germany. So I hadn't looked at this. I didn't read through this. I just thought this is interesting. These happen to be the remains of women, irreconcilably different to the skeletons around them. They have towering, elongated skulls. So it's fascinating, yeah. And I do feel that they were emanating the so-called gods, which I tend to agree with you, too, that they are extraterrestrial.
Yeah, yes. I mean, they're all over, including if you look back to a certain time in Egypt as well. You see some of them had that as well. Not all, but some of them. It all points out that some of the Egyptian in a certain time, only I think it was a certain time frame, that there was some of them that had these elongated skulls, and so wore these sort of special head things, not necessarily to hide them, but it was just the way it was. Their clothing and things like that. But I think it's all very related, because I think you find them all over the world. And now, as you said, as I haven't seen this link you said about in Germany, but it's very interesting, because I think they are pretty much scattered all over the world. It's just obviously finding all the links and finding all the truth is not always easy. Welcome. We have Grizz joined the panel as well. Brilliant. And yes, Stefan says Akhenaten. I hope I'm not killing the name. Tuts this, Dad. Always these names, you sort of put a sort of intuition to it, and I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but yes, indeed, I think that was the one I was thinking of. And they're very amazing, beautiful faces and very strong features. Most of these people had, indeed. So, as you did see this link, do talk a bit more about it. As I really cannot speak of, as I haven't seen it, but yes, go on. It's interesting. Barbara?
Sorry, I was muted.
That's it.
Yeah, apparently, and this was noted also in reference to the elongated, or the appearance of the elongated skulls in Egypt of the wealthy or distinguished families. And this is noted in this article as well, about the southeastern Europe may have been betrothed. These women, there were a few women, I guess, that they found with elongated skulls. They believe it's likely they came from wealthy or distinguished families in southeastern Europe. They may have been betrothed to men in local Bavarian communities to help form political or strategic alliances in the region. Nobody thought that marriage and kinship had a really important function in that period. So no, not all people accept the hypothesis. And of course, they're in just the beginnings of this research about the elongated skulls found there in Bavaria. So this is sort of like this beginning of this study. Some studies suggest that several pathological conditions may be associated with this, including bulging eyes, but this highly depends on the degree of the deformation. And that's where they are. They have a little bit of, they're really studying this. They do say in the beginning here that they do have photographs here too, and they're the same types of elongated skulls. They say that, in fact, the legacy of artificial cranial deformation across human history is so abnormal and other that it's sometimes presented as evidence of extraterrestrial life. And a new genetic analysis reveals otherwise, though, but also sheds light on cultural practices so distant and forgotten that they're almost alien. That's their perception, but I must say that this one investigator who was looking at these skulls, elongated skulls in Iran, did do DNA tests and said that there are segments of the DNA that appears to not match anything of human. So we have that to go on. Sometimes I feel like an alien.
Barbara.
Yeah, well, you are an alien.
Yeah, thanks, sis. It runs in
Go
your
ahead,
family, too. Okay.
Oh, Patty, I know you had something to say, too. I'll just ask this real quick. Well, if they said there's a segment that isn't human, well, they're looking at the elongated skulls of the ones that were wrapped or the ones that actually genetically came out elongated.
Well,
Because my question is, if there's a segment of the DNA that, if it was the alien being, then there's a lot of human DNA, but some that isn't. But these are the human elongated skulls that have this section of non-human DNA, correct?
well, that's these particular ones. And sis, maybe you can find that video that you popped in a couple days ago to me and pass it on. This is specific to these elongated skulls in Iran. I believe they were found in a cave in Iran, and others as well. But he specifically said there was an infant with an elongated skull that they were able to do DNA tests on, and that's what they found. So it was an elongated skull on an infant. So it does take years if you're doing this with wrapping. You know, it's like the Flathead tribe in the Southwest, I believe they are. I'm not sure specifically, but they're called the Flatheads. That the people, when an infant is born, they place a board at the forehead, and then they wrap the child's head so that the forehead becomes flat. They're called the Flathead tribe, you see, but it takes years for that to take shape.
Right. So to find an infant tells us that it's genetic.
Exactly. And that's what he said. He said the segments of DNA that they took from that infant show that there is no match, not anything human, in segments of their DNA, not the full DNA.
Wow. Cool. Cool.
That's what
Okay.
Stefan said. Cool.
Yeah, we're twins. You can't help it. Patty, you had something you wanted to add to this, right?
Well, yeah, I was just going to add that we know from the ancient text, the sacred text, that the Elohim, their creation that was, I think, made to serve them, which became the children, were the giants. And I think that this is part of what we're seeing, is that these bloodlines, they don't perish. That DNA still exists, and especially passed on by the women, the mitochondrial. And so what we see today, some of the skulls are from people trying to emulate. But I think that the more ancient skulls are the true representation of that first creation, the Adamites. That's my conjecture. Anyway, what do you guys think? What do you think, sis?
I just burned my coffee up. That's what I think. I forgot it was on the flame, and I'm talking away. And so, yeah, the Adamites. So I didn't quite fully hear, your full statement. Yeah, the eye colors too. Yeah, so the eye colors are either that piercing blue or that hazel, that vibrant hazel green, I have hazel eyes too. My mom had piercing blue eyes. We just recently started looking at this connectedness to the Adamites, which I'm more and more, we are both, I think, feeling that that's how far back all of this mess goes, that we have been intruded upon. Now, we don't know what those ETs look like. They could have had elongated skulls. I think there's, I don't know by now, what, 12 or 13 that we've heard about, the different ETs. Who is that woman that does the studies that spoke about that? I see her face. Patty and I were doing a study of her. You guys, I know you know who I'm talking about. Sis, remember? Did she go get coffee?
I stepped away too.
Remember the video we were looking at, the reporter, the woman who investigates ETs, and she was speaking about the various different ETs.
Linda Moulton Howe?
Linda Moulton Howe, yeah. She was talking about at least 12 to 13 groups that they are aware of. I was saying that we don't really know what these ETs appear like. I mean, we know the Greys for sure, and the reptilians, and there's some kind of a mantis out there, I guess. I don't know. Yes, thank you, Grizz, Linda Moulton Howe. But I don't know. There's very possible that this DNA interference has slipped in there with these non-human visitors. I feel that way, surely, and I question my early experiences at 4 years old, and possible, well, that's the first memory that I have of being taken by these ETs, or attempted to be taken, but I know that I was, and then, you have had your experiences, and I'm sure others have as well. So, but I guess I have to ask or question, what does it mean overall that perhaps part of my DNA has nothing to do with human? I mean, I don't know. Do I seem strange to you guys? I'm just saying.
Yeah. But,
okay.
But I seem strange to me sometimes too. You all seem strange to me. I'm sorry.
Exactly. I'm wondering what human actually means, because I'm not sure I'm from here either. So, yeah.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, yeah. I mean, sometimes we do kind of joke about it. I don't even know if I, who I am, what I am, and am I human? Am I in a dream? Is this a dream? Is this a nightmare? Is this is this a movie? We question these things, and I guess you'd have to say why. Why do we often pop that in? I don't know. Because something doesn't feel, I don't know, copacetic. Something about the abilities that we have sometimes are, we've talked about our abilities innate within us, and that's something to think about, I know when people say they've left their body and gone into the light and so on, they come back with sometimes extraordinary capacities or abilities to do things. I have left my body. I have done that too. I've gone into that light. But I'm going to say abduction experience, so you have someone on the level. I know I'm talking a lot here, you guys. Jump in if anybody has anything to say. I don't mean to hold the mic here, but just let me say that you have someone like Whitley Strieber, who lived very near by me, actually, where I grew up, who had extraordinary, profound, and sometimes terrifying experiences with ETs, abductions, but then he grew into I want to say, a different type of a person over time with these experiences, because initially he was nowhere connected at all to a sense of a creator, God, spiritual connectedness, earth, relationship, nothing. He was completely void of that, outside of that, very high intellectual and various, disconnect from that, I guess. So he was taken to what he called the secret school to learn a lot from these particular ETs, but he was also experimented on I have no memory of that. And I guess since I don't have a memory of it, doesn't mean that that didn't happen, because there are, oppressed memories and experiences too. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, well, thank you for that beautiful sharing. To that, what I could say, I suppose, is why we all are here, as human beings. Whatever may have been done to us, to our forefathers, in the past, doesn't take away that we are our own very own special species, We are our own very own amazing beings. So we are not who tweaked with us, if indeed they tweaked us, yes. We are not them, We are us, They may have tweaked us, but we are amazing in our own right. We have amazing capabilities in our own right. We are, not them, we are us, ourselves. Are we star beings? We are all star beings. Yes, we live here on this planet, but this planet is in space, traveling, together with all the other planets in our sun, through space. So we are amazing star beings, going through this amazing cosmic dance, experiencing life. Our soul spirit is here learning, is here experiencing all sorts of feelings, thoughts, vibrations, emotions. We are creators from the heart. We are truly amazing. Whether they have tweaked us or not, it does not take away from what we are. And it also not give them any right over us. Because if they did so a very long time ago, it does not give them at all any right over us. Because we have gone this far, evolved this far. We are amazing beings. So I, for myself, have a lot of thought on that, opinion on these topics, and I really do think, really, I don't think we are just a little petri dish, little creator thing. No, we are far more than that. And I think also before this sort of experimenting that whatever happened eons ago, we were actually far more amazing than we are told. Yes, we're definitely not a petri dish amoeba. I agree with you, Barbara. Totally on that. We are special beings, Okay, I'm bringing in Star because she wanted to comment, I think, on something that I was saying. Star?
Yes. I totally agree with everything you said. Another side note to that came out with, yes, it's in our genetics, and yes, we are totally who we decide who we are to be. However, the thought that came to me is if we do have these genes in our DNA, then there is genetic memory. So supposedly we're getting to a point where we can unlock that genetic memory that is within us when we have all 12 strands activated, and supposedly that's coming about now with the activations, etc., the ascensions, blah, blah, blah. So to get to my point, for those of us, and I don't even know if I'm included in the yes, I remember my dad telling me when I was a little kid that I had a great aunt that had 6 fingers. That's all I've got. So is it in my bloodline? I don't know. But the point is, for those who do have that DNA that other than human DNA, alien, whatever, elongated skulls, giants, whatever, when can we unlock that genetic memory so that we can remember that part of who is essentially part of who we are? You know?
Okay. I think when can we do that? We need to start with, this is my perception, yes?
Yes.
To start with, due to a lot of not knowing of what was happening to us, yes, we've been sort of dream walking almost, yeah, not using our abilities. So it is all within us, yes? Everything, all the knowledge is within us. And so we can do that at any time we so choose. But we do need to do the work. We do need to do the meditation. We do need to work on ourselves, yes. We do need to use the energetic love component to heighten our vibration. Because lower vibration, we will not get there to do what you were just saying. You need to go into higher vibration, and that is what takes you into higher vibration. So it is a mixture, a bit like, you know, you need a few ingredients to get there, and the ingredients, it's all within us. But we need to use the awareness, we need to do the homework, and we can get there anytime we want to. A bit like the Akashic records, things like that. It is all within us. Yes, we do not need to look outwardly to find what is inwardly, but sometimes we use the outside of us here to mirror back at us what we already have inside of us, because it is all like a fractal, yes? So again and again and again, what is inside is outside, what is above, so below, continuously, cosmic dancing.
Correct, but there's also a veil that we have to get through. So for people to be able to do that, yes, it is within us, but we also have to, one, be aware that it is there. So that takes the knowing. It takes an awakening of the individual spirit and soul to go, oh, there is something more I can remember, or what are these weird memories I'm having?
Well,
you know, so yes.
You have to do the homework.
Yes.
Okay,
go ahead.
I'll bring Patty in because she wanted to add to what we both were talking. Patty?
Thank you, Lizzie. Yeah, to genetic memory. The thing is our DNA, it holds the history of life. It is there. It exists within our DNA, the total history of life from the conception and the creation of our DNA holds memory, and that memory is frequency and vibration. They have found that the brain itself is what, if you looked at a computer and how it's set up, that's exactly how the brain works. And it works through electrical impulses that are created by the frequencies and the vibrations. And what we don't remember right now of our history can be released with the correct vibration and memory. And we see this a lot when we look at the ancient mysteries and the ancient spiritualities. The people who still practice those are able to have knowledge that is beyond our scope of histories and of future tense. So the issue isn't, and again, I'd like to add too, they did a study for imprinting, okay, imprinting from one generation to the other without speech, without written word or anything like this, just totally from the genetics itself. They did this experiment with crows, and they found that from one generation to the next, threats were passed through with such precise descriptive ability that they could identify a single person out of hundreds of people who were a threat to the previous generations without ever having seen this threat before. So it shows us that we have the knowledge. It's already there. Everything is there. Every answer that we ever want is in our DNA about who we are and where we come from.
Absolutely. So indeed was exactly what I was saying as well. It is all inside of us and outside of us, in and out, and as above, so below. Everything is there. Always, like the Akashic records, everything is there within you.
The thing that connects it, though, is that our DNA is a frequency that's connected to spirit. Absolutely. That is part of that continuum. That is how our DNA came to be, through the energy of spirit. And that's where Star is right also, that connection must be there in order for us to access and release that history, and also can move us forward. We are part of the energy of creation, of that, and what we share within each individual is the spirit. We call it the spirit, but what it actually is that source. The source is in us, and it exists in us. And we have to create the right frequencies and vibrations, which are prayers, which are songs, which are our beliefs, which are all of these things, make it so, things that we do. That's what creates our miracles. That's what creates the magic that we see in life.
Yes,
We are more than this physical flesh and bone. This is the least of what we are. This is just I saw somebody put on a skin suit. That's exactly what it is. It has no benefit to us other than to house this spiritual connection, this energy source, while we're here in this reality, Just that's the way I see it, anyway.
No, absolutely. You put it really beautiful. And indeed, all these things that you were saying have to be done from the vibration of love, this amazing universal love, which is pure love, without judgment, without any form of negativity, because it is part of the creation love. Oh, brilliant. Welcome, Stone. Okay, Barbara wants to join and add something to this. Come in, Barbara.
I popped in the link. This is a fascinating discussion that we're having here, and it says here that ancestors' genetic memories could be passed on for 14 generations, pretty much, and Because our genes, of course, are inherited from our parents and theirs from their parents and so on. Now, it says if our ancestors go through a period of excessive stress, this is our ancestors. This experience can be added to our genome. So, in other words, an extra layer of information is placed on top of your DNA sequences. And the DNA sequence itself doesn't change, but its clothes do, like you were saying. Like what we're, the clothes or the skin. And generally speaking, this is known as the vaguely defined field of epigenetics, which means outside genetics. So this is an interesting subject, and a link here that has full of information here. It's like a transgenerational transmission of environmental information. It has already been seen in humans. For instance, Holocaust survivors' descendants, for example, have lower levels of the stress hormone cortisol in their blood, which means they're more vulnerable to stress and fear, just as an example. That's all I wanted to add.
Well, it's not all. It's a wonderful, it's a wonderful all, and very interesting indeed. I think we're all here really touching on really wonderful and amazing things that we're adding to this wonderful show today. And as always, it's a privilege to be here. We've got another of our brothers and sisters joined in. Stone Hobbit has joined. I think somewhere in the background, I have a feeling Grizz is here as well. Yes, aren't we a wonderful species, really? The only thing that has been lacking through the centuries is really the fact that we've been so messed with, and the fear is been put into us, the fear of speech, the fear of being. The beingness has almost been beaten out of us. The love is being made to look weak. Why has the love been made to look weak? Because it's powerful. Yes? So what do we do when you're a negative being? Yeah? How do you keep people down? By downing everything that's powerful, shutting it down, keeping people in a lower vibration, thus fear, hatred, sense of lack. So people become selfish, do not want to share because that sense of lack is there. So the low vibrations have been very rampant. But that has been done purposely so. Because if we are living in the knowledge and in the awareness of what we truly are, which is all giving, all sharing, no lack, yes? So energy, for example, is everywhere, yeah? We are energy beings. Everything is energy, yes? It is making the use of the best energy, which is the love resonance. So, yeah, it's just an amazingness that we are actually getting to this, and that would bring every day more of this, and the vibration rises every day from what I can figure out. Yeah, even when it doesn't look like it, negative will kick about and create more negativity if it's feeling that it's losing any ground. So of course we are going to feel more negative and more crush. Personally, I think it just shows that we are on the right path. Yes, and we have to keep up with this beautiful, loving energy and peace, love, harmony, raise the vibration, work on yourself, meditate, do yoga, do anything that brings you into that zone of oneness, because we are part of the oneness, having a experience of separateness. Anyone wants to come in and comment on this?
Hi, had to find my mute button there.
Hello, and you
Hello,
just join me.
This is amazing. I've got so many things going through my head, and I'm trying to write them into chat and remember them and blah, blah, blah. What came to mind was how a curse can be passed down 7 generations. Like in the Bible, it talks about, the sins of your forefathers will be passed down 7 generations. So is that just a quote-unquote family curse, or is that something genetic? You can look through families and see where there's just certain mannerisms, certain things, or even certain curses that seem to pass down, whether they're aware of them or not, whether they've been raised in that family or not. This past summer, I had, oh my gosh, Alita, I think her name's Alita. Thaddeus hooked me up with her. I had an amazing 2-hour conversation with this woman that just gave me her time and her gift. And what she does is energetic clearing. And I have to say, I went into it with like, okay, I understand this is real. Let's see if this really works. But throughout the process, and she was so sweet. She just talked me through it and talked about how basically what I needed to do was clear things from my own past, just acknowledge them and say, no more, or I forgive, or whatever it needed to happen. But the other part of that was when I dealt with that with me, that broke the chain of it being passed on down to my daughters and so forth. But also because it isn't in the physical, in this 3D, in this time trap, it is interdimensional, meaning when I cleared myself and forgave from, anything that passed from back then, it cleared them. Anything I forgive frees the other people of any of these karmic or DNA genetic things that are linked. We have the genetic memory. We have the great traumas that go through us. Well, that trauma is imprinted. And that, especially when something happens when a mother is pregnant, that is imprinted also on that child. And then that is part of the DNA code that is written then and then is passed on. So what we can do, and it does work, because since then I have had a freeing and a clearing. And if any of you guys have kept up with me on the radio, you know that I've been through a lot. And this past few months since then, things have started going better for me. Meaning I clear mind. Things look brighter. It's amazing. And I'm going a little bit off topic. But the point is, if there is any genetic things passed down, any of these curses, you can clear not only yourself, but you can keep it from being passed down to your children through the generations, and you can go back and clear it from behind so that any of those other relatives or anything in their genetics, in your cousins, etc., keep that in mind.
That's very, very interesting indeed. Thank you for the sharing. Stone, I think she wants to join in because she wanted to comment on that as well. Stone?
I just had to find my mute button as well.
Yeah, your sound's a little bit low. Stone?
Yes. All right. I don't know if you can hear me or not. They're saying that I'm a bit quiet.
Yeah, sounds just a little bit low. If you can put it up a little bit, would be great.
I can't. This is as high as it goes. I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll keep quiet and do our best. Go on. Just loud.
All right. Thank you. All right. Hi, first of all, to everybody out there, and yes, I'm loving this conversation. It looks like you guys have done a lot of work getting to where you're at. And I've agreed with some of the stuff just that Star just finished saying. When it comes to genetic curses, DNA and imprinting, what my findings are so far are that yes, we can and we do have the power to change the imprints of the past. They're there as reminders of what it is that we need to do while we're here to clear it. I'm not one for the karmic line and all of this. I don't believe in any of that. That's another one of these entrapment programs. But I can turn around and say I can see and I can forgive. It's not that I'm forgiving others that have perpetrated or caused issues towards me and made me have to carry those imprints. It's now me letting go of their attachments to me, whether or not they do their work and correct their own past traumas. I'm not here anymore to help them because I can see what I've got to do, and when I get further along and I'm actually, I'm already seeing the progresses, and I can see how far back and how the system, those that know how we truly work and operate, are coming in and creating these distractions and making us continue the same repetitive patterns without breaking it, as if they already know what it is that we are about to do. So by knowing that we can clean and clear what was behind us, as it's all imprinted in our DNA, as is what we want to evolve into. So basically, you can be whatever. You are a shapeshifter of DNA and true magic. But for me, it's about standing in my truth, not causing any ill will to anybody else, being able to know when to walk away and stop wasting my energy, know how to transmute my energy and up my vibration. So by doing that, there's a lot of stages. You've got to learn to communicate with yourself. And you might think you're there, but then you hear another voice or in a different part of your body speaking to you. It's not just all in your head. It's the reactions and chemical displays on your body. And anyway, so, yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Indeed, you do need to listen and feel, to what is inside of you and around you to do with your auric field and your body. Listen to yourself, and this is why I say you need to work on yourself. Primarily so, because there is where your PowerPoint is you. It's not from someone else. It's not from a book. All those things are good, but you need to work on yourself. That is so imperative. And yes, I love listening to that input. Absolutely, Stone. I love it. Yes, do go on. Sorry.
Oh, well, the other part of it is, as we are interdimensional beings and we have the imprints of the trauma in the past, we can step into these other dimensions and we can clear up this rubbish that has taken place in the past. What I've seen through the scenarios is, the scenarios might slightly change, but the impact of the imprint stays the same. So if you can control that imprint, the depth of your footprint, your soul print, your energy print, then you can control what is happening around you. You can let go of a lot more stuff. We become a lighter being. We become a lighter frequency. We can achieve a heck of a lot more. And we do heal ourselves. Working with Bloods, I got to see how they were working within themselves and as an individual, and got to see they can heal themselves given the right food, energy and information. Less damage barriers, the better they become. That's us. That's who we are. We are we have a current, we have a flow, we have an energetic generator. We use our brain in so many ways, and yet they can't test it all. So there's and it comes down to all of it, the spirit, knowing self, knowing free will, knowing what ego is, seeing what the programs are out there, being able to transmute music from a negative into a positive to feed yourself. We are batteries and we do need recharging. So being able to tap back into our, as they call them, Akashic records and stuff, it goes a lot further than that.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Aren't we amazing beings, Stone?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And do you agree when I was saying earlier that even if we were tweaked, no one, no tweaker that came along, ions away and tweaked us has got the right to come back now and claim sovereignty over us, because
I agree with you.
Amazing.
I mean, that's one of the games that they've played. They've farmed us and kept us in these little stuck bubbles, and we're breaking out again. And this is when the big change, the big evolutions happen. We can feel it. We know the vibrations are all out of whack. Everybody's doing their best to stay, pump themselves up, pump up their frequencies and stuff. But I totally agree. It doesn't matter how many different vessels they created for us to move into. This is an amazing vessel, and whoever created it, however it came to be, I've just started really learning to appreciate what I have. This is my home. This is my home, and I'm tired of the home invasion that these beings out there think they have the freedom to have. I know that there's nothing that I can do that I have any privacy over. So it's like, okay, you've done your job. I'm in this vessel. I've given you X amount of years of spiritual feeding, fear feeding, everything that you wanted. Now leave me alone, because now I'm going to use that energy for myself to recharge, because I don't know they're going to keep firing at me to stop that from happening, because when we turn ourselves on, we are brighter than any sun out there, and they know this energy and they want it. We don't need any masters. You get to a certain stage because you've cleaned the rubbish from your DNA. You know where you're going. So anyway.
No, absolutely, yes. But again, since we're talking pretty much in unison really here, yes, in the same vibration. It is that we stand in our true power. Yeah. And through inner work, to self-awareness, through knowing who we are, yeah, or to investigate who we are by looking within, yeah. Yes, all those things are interesting. The past, who tweaked, who done, who built, all those things are interesting and yes, in a way, important to know. But more important so than that is to actually start doing the homework and to look from within and start doing the healing from within and take the power that we have. Yeah, it's not even taking back. The power has never left us. It is within us. Yes. It's just learning to stand in that power. Isn't it, sis? Stone.
Yes. I've got to get refrequenized. What I was you jogged something in my brain for a second, and then all of a sudden it was gone again.
That's the kind of thing I do.
What I was trying to point out earlier on is, if you turn around and make yourself the investigator, take a step back and look through that glass, look at that person's journey, through different stages. This is you. You have experienced this. You know what the emotions are. You are the experiment, but you're also the experiencer. You're also the researcher, okay? This is your journey that you need to investigate. It's not just on the 3D level, because we're a multi-dimensional being. And this is what makes it so fantastic, is that we're having all of these encounters at any one time. We're not just living one reality. We are a split personality. We have to wear different personalities and have different types of manners and behaviours to be able to have the frequency high enough to do the work in these dimensions in the first place. So by, turning around and saying, okay, well, I'm going through this right now and it's created this and this, well, take a little step back. Okay, how many times have you gone through that same emotional feeling? And then you already know the feelings that are going to come with that, whether it's anxieties, phobias, jealousy, the whole lot is right across the board. Once you understand how to put your emotions in check, your ego in check, know what your free will is, start listening and communicating to your vessel and the inner vessel, then you can start seeing that, okay, well, over there, that happened to me 1,000 years ago. I've been carrying the wounds and it's held me back until now. So now I need to go, okay, I already experienced that. I forgive myself for what I did not know and the actions that may have affected me and others around me. And I release myself from that burden, because we are our ancestors. We are those that we have been waiting to come and save us for years. We are now at a stage where, okay, we've had enough time to recharge. Now we've got to do that. We're here, we're recharging.
Yes, yes. Yes, I love it. I'm loving it. Because, yes, I totally agree. There has been too long of power giving away. There has been too long of us being, someone else knows better than us. Yes, please look after me. And really, as the things you were saying, listen to your body. You know what your trigger points are. Sometimes it takes a while to get there, but we are getting there, yeah? And of course, what holds people back is we all love to sit very, very comfortable in our uncomfortable chair. It's uncomfortable, we know, but it's the chair we know, yeah? One day I'll buy a next comfortable, a very comfortable settee with pillows, and start looking at it from a different point of view. And we are accustomed to be in a position that is not helping us. So I totally agree with you, and that is one of the things I am doing every day of my life. Is I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm sharing. I become aware of things that are created by me and other people towards me, and then I watch my reactions, almost as if I jump out of myself and watch myself, away from myself. A bit like rolling that film, see what's going on, and try to go. Because sometimes you don't recognize what's that feeling, where it's coming from. It happened a long time ago. So you have to sort of try and rewind back, and then you see, it's happened there, and then it's happened there, and then it's happened there. So you go and heal that child, and then you go and heal that teenager, and sometimes into another life maybe. But yes, I totally agree with you. We are so resonating indeed, and I think Barbara would love to come and join us. Join in, Barbara.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, good discussions today. And what comes to my mind is how we often don't realize how we holding, or I'm going to say tether. So you kind of tether someone. It's sort of like hammering a stake into the ground, tying a rope to it, and then attaching it to someone else. That's tethering something. How that happens through our experiences, you could say early experiences, does not matter, can happen at any time. How we hold on to things and how they become imprinted in our experience or our memories. And we might not even really realize it, but our behaviors or actions function according to those circumstances. And just to give you an example of my own personal experience with that has to do with one of my grandmothers, my dad's mom, who was, as a child, I didn't know anything really about her, only that my experience with her was that she was unkind, that she was harsh and cold, and it wasn't fun to go there. And it was a completely different experience with my other grandmother, my mom's mother, who was way different. She was the one who spoke to me about the little people and the fairy nations, and she used to speak to the ancestors in her way, and the calling in the ancestors, and I was very privy to that. She knew that I was born with a call and that given that gift, and I believe she was as well, and that runs in our the female line in our family. And so she was a joy to be around, and the other grandmother was not. And so over time they both passed away, and when I was very young. And it's interesting because I would often speak throughout years about my grandmother, the one. Her name was Louise, who taught me about the little people. And then I would say, but my other grandmother was not that like that. She was cold and bitter and not nice, and I didn't really like her at all. And for some reason, that just came into my conversation. It seemed, normal, I guess you'd say, just describing my childhood. And I was in my middle 20s when I started to experience this heaviness around me on one side of myself, the left side, very heavy. It felt like a energetic weight, a heaviness, a pulling experience on me. So I knew that something was there. I was very well aware of that. I couldn't quite get it myself, and I went to a friend who was a psychic and a channel and had those experiences. And we sat together, and she started describing this energy. This was a person, was a woman. And she spelled out the name of my grandmother, my dad's mom. And that she told me that she was experiencing a great sorrow and was not free. Because I kept pulling her back with the way I spoke about her and the way I felt about her. And of course I was completely unaware of that, had no idea that was happening, but it became obviously very apparent to me that, wow, I was actually, involved, unknowingly involved in tethering my spirit of my grandmother. Because every time I would speak about her in a negative way, she would be drawn back to this plane, to this level. And so I actually performed a ceremony of, I would say a love ceremony, telling my grandmother that I did love her. And I found out much later as an adult about how she suffered as a young woman. And many things that happened to her, she did become a bitter person. And of course, she in no way meant to hurt me. And so I I apologized for holding that frequency of distaste and actually hatred toward her. And I told her how much I did love her, and that now I understood what had happened to her. And that was it. That was done. The energy, the pulling, the weight, the weighty heaviness was gone after that. So why I'm sharing this is about the energies around us and our awareness and our attentiveness to things, and also our words about how, and even our thoughts, and how we, the way we express ourselves is a frequency and an energy, of course, and can either do positive or negative or harm, and or good, and also thinking that it's a reverberation out into the ethers and out into the sacred web and into infinity, and how we so affect things, either positively or negatively, even those loved ones, perhaps, So it's sort of like the what you focus on, of course, you bring to you. What goes round comes round. We have all these sayings that I think we sometimes need to pay attention to, because where did we get those sayings? I think we got them from our ancestors. You create your own reality. What goes round comes round. What you focus on, you manifest or create or bring to you. And I think this is very important for us, to kind of contemplate and reflect upon the imprints that we are perpetrating and the imprints that have been perpetrated upon us, as we were talking earlier about the DNA can be, travel through many generations, 14 generations or more, or if your family experienced trauma, or if your family was, a curse was put upon your family, how either you're thinking of that curse and everything that happens in your life, oh, well, we're cursed, so that's what, that's why that happens. So you are continuing to perpetrate that, or you may not know about the curse, but energetically, frequency-wise, it is imprinted there somewhere within your memory. It goes through because your parents, your grandparents, and so on, knew about that curse. So I think it's important to identify what is ours, like what is mine? Is this my feeling? Is this my thought? Is this, or what is this? Where is this coming from? And to pay more attention to this type of thing, the frequencies and what we are creating and manifest, and what is being put upon us, could be generations. And then do we hold that belief? The bad thing's going to happen. I mean, that's an imprint I think that many of us have held or had been given. Don't be too happy, don't be too sure, and don't rest on your laurels too much, because at any moment, the bad thing is going to happen. Now, that's a very powerful imprint, because that prevents a lot of people from actually feeling full joy and happiness, because instead what they're doing is they're looking over their shoulder thinking, but wait a second, I better not be too happy, I better not be too sure, because at any moment the bad thing could happen. So that's a belief, and that's an imprint, right? And I guess you could say it's within our cellular experience, could have happened in our family, and so then they imprinted that upon us. So I just wanted to, actually, I started talking about that, but that's not what I came originally to talk about. And that's what happens, right?
Sharing. Hold on to the thought what you were going to say next, because what I wanted to say is I'm very grateful for your sharing there. It's beautiful sharing. It's a beautiful experience. It's got much wisdom in there. And yes, indeed, most of what you said I would agree with. But I won't say much more because I don't want to stop your flow. Please do say what you were going to say, and then I'll come in and say more.
Well, thank you, Lizzie. But this has to do with, this also has to do with our DNA and imprints in the DNA. Of course, which are frequencies. Everything we know now, I think we've come to all realize, the key piece in our experience here in this timeline is about frequencies, learning that we are beings of energy, that we are not a solid mass here, that we are interdimensional, that we are, extraordinary beings, and we have a power given to us that it either affects our experience and the whole, either positively or negatively. But what I'm talking about here is the 7 generations in our tradition, in the indigenous tradition. We have this, the way of our people was to recognize and to live accordingly to the next coming 7 generations. And that was imprinted through, I'm going to say, into the DNA of our people, that everything, and why I say it was imprinted in the DNA memory is because in the process of living, the people every day, in every moment of their life, had in their mind and their heart spirit the realization that coming after them would be another generation and another generation and so on into the 7th generations. And so every act, every decision, and every determination, what was thought of first was how would this affect my children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great, and on and on. And that is an imprint, a beautiful imprint in a cellular memory in the DNA of the people. And I just wanted to bring that in because in some instances, of course, this has now been, I'm going to say, difficult to hold this or to actually follow this way of being in heart, spirit, heart, and action, thought, and behaviors, decisions, determinations, to keep in mind the next coming 7 generations. So I just wanted to bring that in as part of the sort of an imprint, because we were speaking about the imprinted into our DNA and the cellular experiences of things. So I just wanted to add that to our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Absolutely beautiful sharing. Many truths, many wisdoms in there. As always, your insight and your sharings are always beautiful, Barbara. Thank you. Patty, would you like to come in by any chance? You were sharing some really beautiful insights on the chat. Are you there, Patty?
Well, yeah, and
thank you.
I have a slightly different perspective on the discussion and on the imprints, and I've talked about this before, and I know that usually it's not easy to express, so I'm going to try real hard, but. On the thing of forgiveness, it has honestly never been a need of mine. I have never been in a situation that I walked away carrying animosity or pain. So, not to say that I haven't been through the ringer, because I have. I've been attacked physically, mentally, emotionally, many times in my life. There have been points in my life where I have sat down and just felt like, what's the use at times? But in all those times, and it's always been with me, that the individual that would cause me harm, I could look at that individual, and instead of putting the anger toward them, the first thing I have always done and will always do is to step over on that side and to understand that person is only acting out what they've collected in their lives, what's been given to them that they haven't processed yet. I see each and every individual on this earth as an experience And those experiences are as different as the individuals themselves. That's how many differences there are. And I don't hold animosity toward them. I hold understanding that they are just acting out, just like I'm acting out. And I hold no grudges. I've never been able to hold a grudge. I've never been able to look at a person and say, I hate you, or you are a bad person, ugly, mean, for what you did to me. Any individual in my life who's ever harmed me is still, I can see them and smile. I can see them and hold conversation with them. If I walk away from a situation, it is because I know I have no need for that experience. And I have no problem when I see it in an individual, and I can look at them and say, okay, see you later, and I can turn around and walk away. And there's nothing in between there. I take nothing from that with me. I don't feel that people are wrong in acting out their own experience. What I feel would be wrong is for me holding them in judgment for doing exactly what I'm doing, acting out my own experience.
Yes.
And I look at it as just an experience, a lesson learned. And I've had some experiences in my life, some of the most wondrous and exciting and beautiful things have happened in my life and still do. And there are things that cause me grief, for the moment, but they pass quickly. And I cherish those moments too. Even the times when, and this is what is hard for people, I think, to understand what I'm trying to say, is that even in the times when I've experienced the greatest pain, I cherish those experiences because they were profound and they were real and they taught me who I am. I mean, in a way that an understanding grew from that and made me love myself even more. If I'm, see, I have a problem getting this across because it's not something I talk about a lot.
No.
But,
you're getting it across absolutely beautiful. You don't have a problem at all. And it's absolutely touching, you're sharing. It's beautiful and true, very true. So do continue. Because, it's just wonderful. And I agree too, yes. But we all so different, amazing people. All sharing the oneness, but so individual. So we all see and feel things from a different perspective. And this is why we are so amazing, because none of us feels things the same. We are all shards of the oneness, but we are all unique shards of the oneness. Very precious.
Well, Gaz just said, that he has to forgive himself. That's another deal. Is I don't blame myself for the things I do. I will say, well, that was stupid, or that wasn't necessary. That was kind of mean. But I understand it for what it is. It's just enacting what is there within me at that moment. And once it's done, if I offend someone, I will stand up and I will say, I am sorry. I don't care whether I agree that I offended them or not. If that person is offended, then they are offended. And I need to say, okay, now I'm not, don't get me confused with what's going on around with the political stuff, because this political correct stuff has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. Because I do have an opinion on that. You're right.
Yeah, very different stuff.
Yeah. But the thing of it is that I don't take life that serious to think um, that there must be things done the way I want them to, and that those people who don't do them like me, there's something wrong with them. To me, that's what we need to celebrate, is that each and every one of us are so unique, even though we may express the same likes and the same dislikes or whatever. We are so unique in the way we view life, ourselves, and everything else. That's celebratory. Whether you consider it right or wrong, it doesn't matter, because you're the only one that matters in your life. You're the only one that has to pay your own penance. You're the only one that has to look in the mirror, and you're the only one, when you leave here, that will be carrying whatever it is you collected along the way. And I travel light, let's say. I don't take life seriously enough to because I know I'm greater than this. This is just an experience. This here that I am experiencing right now is, to me, the most beautiful gift that has ever, ever, ever been given to the spiritual essence of who we are. What a wondrous gift to be able to be sitting here right now. The fact that I'm actually sitting here, that you're sitting there, and that we're talking, and that we're only going to be here for a little while. I mean, it's almost up for me, I'm going to be walking on here pretty soon. Hey, that's cool. How awesome is that? Because I had this wonderful walk, and look at everything that I've been able to experience.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Oh, sister, for me, it's a privilege to be here. Yeah. The whole experience, for as mad, topsy-turvy it can go, and just the same as you, I agree. Sometimes it can go real dark. And but the thing with me is I always carry love in my heart, always. And I agree with you in many aspects. Though I have been very hurt and I do have trigger points, one thing I've never stopped having was this love in my heart, and that's been, for me, the thing that has helped me to be here and to see things the way I do, feel things the way I do, look upon the person that seriously harmed me. Yes, I felt the pain. Yes, I felt all those feelings. And sometimes, years ago, I still have a resonance of that happening. Because, years ago I did not have what I have now, a certain maturity of spirit. But I never hated. I only felt love and a lot of compassion for the whole situation. Yes, trauma exists to a point still within me, which I am working on. I have not had a cushioned life. So, yes, but I am working.
But who would want to have a cushy life? I mean, if you could have in a life full of the experiences, the roller coaster ride is much more fun than the little paddle boat, Just saying.
Yeah, well, some people think that's what they want, and they just want to have an easy ride, But I think what people think as an easy ride is not always an easy ride. But there you go. I for as much as I've had difficulties, I've had love. And the love that I've had has grown exponential. And the same way as what you said, I've had that experience has grown inside of me into more experience, more maturity, even more love, even more awareness, and to a point I am grateful to have had all of those experiences, because here I am, the person I am, because I have had them. I survived them against all odds. Yeah, I went down on my knees and got up again, and I said, no, the power is mine to continue. The power is mine to love. The power is mine for self-awareness. This is merely a journey. This is a journey, a part of a journey that I'm having, not the journey. Yeah, and what is fun? Yeah, where the fun of all this is not the end, but it is the journey itself. Yeah?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's what it is.
Yes. It is in the journey that we collect the love, the harmony, the friends, the knowledge. Journey is what it is about.
And you know, when we start out as children, I think we're like that. When we start out in that innocence, we want to know, and we'll go out and we'll climb that tree and we'll fall out and we'll break our arm and go to the doctor and get a cast on, and we'll come back, and as soon as that cast is off, we want to climb that tree again, not because we want to fall out and break our arm, but because that's the adventure, because that's where the adventure is. And if we ever get to a point to where we don't want the adventure anymore, then I think we do a disservice to ourselves, because even though there's good and there's bad, even though our lives are struggle, there is still beauty and love. There's still wonder and magic. And to me, the trade-off is worth it to me, just saying.
Okay, well, yes. Your just saying is a beautiful just saying. I love it. I think Barbara wants to come in and join your just saying.
Yeah, I love my sister there, Patty, and the thing she says. She's just saying. Okay, well, as you said, Lizzie, that just saying is pretty incredible and powerful. And I was thinking about, when you were talking, sis, what came to my mind about what you said when we are children, and I feel that, and we have certainly talked about this, and I know you and I are not the only ones. I'm sure that Lizzie has as well, about ourselves as children, and what we come here with are, I feel, the wisdoms, all the knowledge. We carry it with us. It is within us, and it remains within us. It never fully disappears. It may get quiet. It may be hidden over time, because when we come here into this realm, into this earthbound experience, I call it, because it is an earthbound, we are bound to this earth experience, which comes with a lot of stuff. And but yet outside, if we continue and remain that heart-spirit connection to source, and of course to the mother, to nature, which we are also connected with, which holds the wisdom as well and is a teacher, I feel, to all of us. But it is difficult because our experiences, and of course we have to then go back to our parents' experience and the generations before them that had already been, I guess the wisdom within them has already been usurped or hidden or stomped down. And I call the process sort of like the crushing of a child's spirit. You can never kill a spirit. The spirit remains. Like we say within our nation, you can torture us and take our land and do all kinds of things, but you will never destroy the spirit that we hold, the spirit within us. And I think that is for everyone. And I think that as children, we come here with the wisdoms, and we do come here with the original instructions that I speak about. Creator gave us all original instructions, not just us here that are speaking, but all nations, the black, red, yellow, and white nations. We all came with the original instructions given to us about how to live and to take care of and cherish this earth and ourselves and each other. Because when you receive a beautiful gift, there's always a little card in there with instructions. Everybody got the instructions. And so here we are today. Many have forgotten those instructions. Many of us hold the wisdom and the memory, as we talked about earlier, the DNA or the cellular memory of who we really truly are. But we are afraid to speak it out. We are afraid to expose ourselves or become vulnerable to that, because we learned very early, if you show your true nature, if you speak your truth, you will be crushed. There are those around you that have been trained to disbelieve, or I guess the big question always comes at you, well, who do you think you are? I received that, and I was a child born with a call, and I saw things, knew things, and received prophecies and insights and so on. And I guess I learned very early on that you don't expose these things. You don't speak about the colors that you see around people, or you don't speak about the fact that you've had a conversation with a tree, because people can't accept that. People will laugh at you, or people will, of course, even shout at you or run away from you in some circumstances. And in some situations, people have been, tied up or put those straitjackets on and carted off to a loony bin, or unfortunately a place what they called a loony bin. But there are many people, I feel, who have been wrongly accused of being crazy and insane because they spoke their truth. And so we have the wisdom within us. We do have the cellular memory of who we really truly are, where we did come from, our origins, which I do believe are the stars, and the source, the beautiful dreamer, the visionary of the one who dreamt and envisioned this beautiful Mother Earth and all the children coming here, and how we were to live in harmony and balance. And so, the imprint remains. We have to, and I think it was Starr said earlier, how do we uncover or bring forth that genetic memory or the cellular memory, and we are in the process of that, I feel, and in this moment in time. So I think that it remains within us. It is there, and it will always be there, waiting for us, And I think that there are no answers outside of us. I think they are within us. And of course, our connectedness to the unconditional love of the source, the one who dreamed us, envisioned us. So I think I just want to say, to me, this feels like an extraordinary moment in our time here. And, and nobody likes to hear their sister say, well, I'm going to be leaving here soon. I don't have that long to be here. As you said, my sister.
In the scope of my life.
I get that. I know what you're saying, but I'm just saying, because that is going to happen. Yes, we are all heading that way, of course. And so the idea is, or the point is, what do we do? What is significant while we are here? How do we walk? How do we live our life, the time here that we are? We call it walking in a sacred manner, or being returning to the original instructions of the Creator's law of one, that we are one with, and so on, and loving ourselves and coming to know ourselves as sacred, divine, really, and the extraordinary, awesome gift and power that we do have to create, to co-create. So, yeah, I think this is an awesome time that we are here, that we are all here together. Yeah, it's just amazing to me. the like minds and all, I guess you'd say, all on the same page kind of feeling, you know. So it's a beautiful time. I'm happy to be here. And so, yeah, Pilamaya, thank you.
Yeah, and you look at it, it's like everyone that you've come in contact with your whole life, you know, whether you were glad of that connection or not glad of that connection, they're still connected to you because they're connected to the source, and they are beyond this life. And I think if we look at each other in that way, that we all are the same from the same source, that it makes it easier to realize that this is just an experience. This is just a moment in our infinite existence, you know, and it's going to pass. And that's okay because there's going to be another one, you know. We're going somewhere from here, so, hey, let's just have a bunch of freaking fun while we're here, you know.
I love it, sister.
Well, yeah, choose your direction, right? Choose the direction.
Live, love, laugh, and stand strong, yeah.
Exactly.
Can I just say something as well? The power, the feminine power is very present here today. And I think it's not for no reason, because the year we have entered slowly is not only feminine, but is very feminine based. And I think it shows itself in many forms. And it has got a gentleness to it, but incredible powerful too. And I think it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. What is happening and the time we are in here right now. To be here together with Patty, Barbara, Stone, Star, all these wonderful, strong, beautiful people. And of course, yes, we do have some very strong male characters too. Not with us today. We do have Stefan in the background. I'm trying to coach him in. But I think we've got Stone waiting to come in. Unless Patty, Barbara, are you finished? Sorry, because I sort of jumped in.
Yeah, I am. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm done. Yes.
Stone?
Hi. You had me laughing, and I'm nodding. I totally agree with a lot of the stuff you guys are saying. It's, you know, we've all walked a journey. We've all been put here at the same time for, you know, I can't say what the reasons are because I don't know what they are. I'm doing the same stuff every day, learning something new. I've gone through the different stages of not wanting to interact, and you know, you're talking about when you're a child and all the stuff you learn and you want to, you know, hang on to, and you go back. We repeat our patterns. We are investigators. We're curious. We want to know how things work. Some of us have that drummed out of us, and we're directed, you know, with all the different forms of programming out there. It's taken away from us. It's slowed down, and I agree with you, Barb. My background was pretty much the same, you know, be seen and not heard. And you have these abilities, and you want to know where they come from and talk to people about them, and you get shut down time and time again, and you get the threats. And every single threat you get is a form of trauma imprint. So we go back, and we have to let go of this. We have to find out when all these steps took place. And you know, for me, it's like a writing pad, you know, when I'm sitting there typing away, and I want to find a certain word, I can just now type in that word, and it'll take me through all the chapters, throughout everything that I've written, coming up with the same thing. So now I've cleaned out a word from all of these chapters, and that's just how I take away that now. And at the same time, as a child, I noticed, that's when I started noticing these different, the different entities that would be around me. The biggest one I had, and she still visits from time to time, she's a little old lady. She always has the same face. She was always carrying the same bag. She's always wearing her hair the same way, and I've seen her through different stages of this life and the dimensional realities I seem to inhabit. So it's like I look at the gifts from these people that are one form or another, this old lady carrying the carpet bag and all of this, her persona and stuff. I will see a little bit of that in somebody in the 3D reality, and when they talk to me, it's not them talking to me, it's the experience being lived through this other entity coming in. So I look at the gifts that we have, the gifts that we share without even realizing we're sharing them. We're upping each other's frequencies. I just got hit with one then, and it was like this big drone in my left ear. It was a sensation. I was looking at what Steph was saying about being an empath. Well, my experience with being an empath, we all have the same abilities. We all have the same senses. We can up our senses depending on how much work we're putting into it. When I was younger, I went through different stages. I lost my sight, I lost my hearing, I was mute, I suffered concussion. And every time I had one area that was weaker than it should be, the rest would heighten. When I couldn't see, I could hear, and my smell and my taste were up. So as an empath, I had to learn both connections. Yes, when I was younger, for money, we could if we wanted to, and I was a tomboy, so I worked towards protecting myself. So one of the things we did was, back in the day, $25 was a lot of money, so we scalped dingoes. Top and tail, it was called. You take the ears and you take the tail, and that was a lot of money. I didn't have that empathy. I was being sexually abused every couple of days. So there was no empathy. I didn't understand empathy. I didn't care about being a bully and hurting others because I was going through that. I didn't know that I was actually doing any harm to anybody else or anything else. Later on, as I got older, I didn't like being treated the way that I was being treated. Things was changing within me. My perception of the reality that I was in was wrong. It was totally wrong. All these people around me teaching me one way. Their way didn't work for me. And there was more of them than there was of me. There was nowhere I could turn to find someone that could pull me out of this. I had to do it myself. I learned at an early age, it doesn't matter how many people come into my life. At the end of the day, it's me who has to help myself. I have to be the one to get in and out of bed. I have to be the one to know where my pains are in my body and take care of that. I understand what happened when I was younger and stuff. It wasn't any fault of my own. This is just how their society, their teachings, their programs had led them to. And it's really sad to be able to stand back and see that.
Yes.
As I got older, I didn't have a problem with people dying around me. There was no empathy, heart connection to that because I'd already seen so much of it at a young age. I accepted it. Then I lost my first child to a cot death, which there is another side to that. All these other areas that took place. I started developing empathy because a connection had been ripped away from me. It was another form of trauma, which I could not understand, and there was no safe area for me to go to. Later, as it progressed through my life, I became very sensitive to everything around me, trees, plants, because I started interacting with these different beings, the trees, the plants, the food I ate, the bird life started coming in. We were taking care of all sorts of different animals. Everything seemed to be attracted to that one point. Then we discover we're on the ley line, which intensified everything that was happening in the first place. So when we stepped away from it, my friend who is an empath, we're both empaths, but he is of a different understanding of it at this point in time, whereas I have had a different journey to get to those stages. I deal with things a lot different now than I used to. For me, it's not about, I can't just, it's hard for me to get up and just walk away from a situation when I have the abilities and the training now from life experience that people such as social workers and psychiatrists and psychologists do not have the training that I have physically and mentally been through. I have done the paperwork that they've all done, but I've also got the practical side of it. I've seen what physically can happen and all of it. And this stuff is wrong. And for people who are not where I am to turn around and make me feel in those very deep, dark areas because I reached out for help yet again and again and again, which just sent me down those spirals into those black pits. I've done the whole work, so I've tried all the negative stuff, you know, like suicide and all that. I've tried that. I tried black magic. I tried to become one of those people, but I couldn't. That's not who I was. I knew at an early age that we weren't like that. There are so many people who came into my life as old ladies with that energy. There was a certain energy about it. Wherever I got taken in any of my journeys, there was always that figure, that matriarch figure who was going to guide me. And a few of the times, I'm not going to say a lot of the times, but, you know, I'm still working on those areas. Those personas of that entity was another entity of myself.
Yeah.
Another stage of myself. I could relate. I knew I was safe. And you have to know the loss before you can know the safe. As that's, you know, I don't carry anger. There's no point to it. It makes you sick. I don't need to forgive those that have perpetrated against me because I'm doing my work. I'm not doing the work for them anymore. I can turn around and say, no, I'm not engaging in conversation. No, I don't want to place myself in this energy field because it's more work for me in the long run. I've done all I can. If you can't change by now and do some work yourself, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be there because this is a huge, huge work that we're doing. And there are so many areas that they've come in and tried to stop us and slow us down. It's not going to happen. We have woken up to who we are. We know there is so much more to us. And it's infinite. It doesn't matter how far you see in the future. You know that there's that much more again. You know, every year I find myself saying to one or two people, what I knew last year, that blew my mind. But now, you know, and I say it every year, I know that this year, wow, we're not even out of the first month and the things that have taken place are like, woo.
It's been a very strong start, hasn't it?
Yes.
But I don't know about you, but I feel like it's speeding up. It's taking such a momentum, and the trigger points are just going left, right, and center at everyone. But yes, you know, from what you started in the beginning, because your experience, you were saying you grew up from the point of view that you were allowed to speak only when you were told, things like that. I had that too, and I was also not allowed to express myself. So often what I'd get would be, you wait till your turn to speak, and when it is your turn to speak, you shut up. So you didn't even have a turn, really, to be honest.
For me, it was just a glance. He just had to turn and look at us, and that was it. You
Yes.
knew. And
Yes.
it was, it was dread every time. People talk about home invasion. What is home invasion? When somebody breaks into your small area. Well, home invasion for me was a lot more. It was watching the clock, knowing 24/7 where everybody was, when are they coming back, who was connected to who, my behaviour, if I didn't behave in a certain way, if I didn't dress myself in a certain way. Questions weren't allowed, and that was my home invasion. There was no safe area. It didn't matter what home I ended up in. It was all part of it. There was no... So I had to find my home. And I went down some pretty dark tracks trying to find myself. And I found myself. And this is wonderful to be able to know that them out there, all of those that continually hurt others, at the end of the day are just hurting themselves.
Oh, yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
We can carry the injuries. We can give up and we can come back. It doesn't matter how many times you go through the process. If you choose to move forward, if you choose to stay in a stuck place. A lot of people these days have been so programmed, they don't even know they're in Stockholm Syndrome. Mass Stockholm Syndrome. And this is worldwide.
Yes.
And, when you start having us experiences coming out there and sharing the scenarios are all different. But when it comes down to it, it's the emotions, it's the common grounds that we've all come... We are here for a reason. We've got to come together. We've got to share this information, see the commonalities, and start helping those people out there. It is all happening in different stages. So choose your work. Choose what you want to gain from it. Make sure it's a 50-50 energy. Knowing, like when I go and meet new people, I always start off by introducing who I am, a little bit about what my background is, and I turn around and say, look, the way that I work is I don't like to leave in any kind of bad situation. If I identify something and it continues after me bringing it up and it doesn't change, I will simply walk away. It's not that I don't like you anymore. It's not any of that. It's just that I have chosen to move to another area, another area of myself, investigate myself. And it gets hard when you live in the same house as them. But anyway, we're all attuning ourselves. At the beginning of when I came in, we're talking about frequencies and how to amp them up. Knowing that you are a frequency being, you can amp yourself up any time you want. I grew myself a blackberry bush in the backyard this year, and I went out there and I picked some blackberries, and they tasted like the real blackberry. And that amped my vibration up, because it's not just going out there and picking it and growing it. It's also taking in the sensations of the skin, the flavour, the growth, the goodness, the vitamins, the love. Yes, I'm eating something to survive. That's the barbaricness of our existence here. But I'm doing it with thanks and saying and giving honour to what life I just took, because it's now part of my life.
Yeah.
So I'm sharing that extended journey. It's like these little things. It's about knowing the knowledge, breaking down whatever action you do, break it down into its multi bubble and look at all the goodness around that. You just absorb that goodness. That is the energy that you need. That is us.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just
No, don't apologize. You're expressing yourself, and this is a moment of great healing. Yeah, it is a moment of confusion because we are going through a birthing process, all of us. Yeah, because we are remembering who we are. We are taking into ourselves the power. So we're doing a lot of healing, a lot of experiencing. and a lot of sharing. And in the sharing we find comparisons, some comparisons closest to us, to our own, others not. But we find something here and there that resonates with our at one point or other. Yeah. And that all helps us towards the healing process, towards the clearing of the self, bits that are not ours, yeah. So clearing to again grow exponentially our auric field, our energy being, and you've been through a lot of trauma, and have been working on it, and the gratefulness, the consciousness of it, the appreciation of the touch, the smell, of those barriers, of the growing, very important, because it is empowering your senses, empowering you as a being in your rightful soul spirit, because part of it had been taken from you as you were growing and when you were little, and the conditioning set upon you was so great that at the moment all those things are so important, but not just for you. It is so important for all of us, even those who feel that knot was not taken often when young. They may have not experienced, because for them it was a banality. It was not taken of them, but it was so there in their faces. They found it as a banality. No need for it. It comes to me so easy. Why try it? So a lot of people have missed the chance of the contact with nature, because it was there. I can do it another day.
Yeah.
So the healing that we're encountering now is that we are now together with the planet growing in energy, growing exponentially in the raising of vibration. And so what happens, the planet is reaching out to us, yes, and we are reaching out to it, and we are. The planet itself is a self-healing living entity, so are all the planets, yes? And we are that too, even though we have not realized for ions for a long time. Well, some of us is, but big majority of people have been in dissonance with it. And I agree with you, we all have the possibility of being these amazing creatures, and it is within us. It's just a question of search for it and work on it. And your sharing is very touching, very, very powerful, Stone. And again, we are so grateful for your sharing, because it's through this sharing, your sharing, my sharing, Barbara's, Patty, everyone's sharing, that we connect, that we grow, that we allow our spirit soul to free flow. Yes? Because a lot of us have not been allowed to free flow for a long time. And the fear sets in, this, that, the other, so many of the negative feelings. That when you want to free flow, it's very difficult. For a long time, I was not allowed to speak my truth. For a long time, I wasn't even allowed to scream, to the point that when I wanted to scream, I would open my mouth and not a sound would come out. Yeah, and at that point, I could scream, but I wasn't able to, because prior to that, screaming was not allowed. So when I found myself able to scream, I couldn't. Yeah. So I would open my mouth and I would try to very powerfully to utter this scream, to shout, and I couldn't. Just would come out. And it took me a long time to be able to do that. I used to go with a friend of mine to the woodlands, and we'd run free, through the woodlands. And then we'd got on top of the mountain, and both of us would hold hands. And that's how I started being able to scream, to allow that free burst of scream, the sound of my voice. And we both would hold hands, look into each other, and all you could see was amazing wilderness. And we both would let up this amazing scream, let it all out, let out the energy, and be free. And some people will hold back that scream, would hold back that feeling. But it's important because we are growing at the moment. It's important to be free. It's important to find your voice. It's important to find yourself and to stand in the power of who you are without fear. And I'm so grateful for your sharing.
Yeah, I'm intending on breaking down all the emotions and everything that, that's the programming that's being dumped on us. We need to break it down, and it'll flow a lot easier for people out there to understand what is what. Here I was, a young person with these abilities, not knowing what they were, where they came from, how long they were going to last. Was I going to turn into one of these so-called mutants? And, there are people around me that already say that I'm already that mutant. So, we look for teachers, we look for guides, and we get taught to look for these teachers and guides. But at the end of the day, the real teacher is yourself. It's somebody can tell you that element is hot or cold, but you're only going to learn that when you touch it yourself and find out. You've got to do the work to get there. You've got to, I've looked at myself as going through all of this horrible stuff and coming out of it the way that I have, so that others don't have to go through it. But in saying that, I can now see another, point of view where you have to go through it to become who you are or going to be. Now, I'm not looking at becoming anybody as per se or anything of the sort. I don't need to do that. I'm on a journey of discovery, and I love this. I love this planet. I love, mixing up with all you guys. I'm not the touchy-feely type. I don't like to get too close to people because I am aware of the different layers of us. And, you go through these different stages of learning about the different stages of who you are. Once you start understanding the auric fields and the dimensions that they are and how you interact with your information on a multi-dimensional level, and all that information you're taking in, you start becoming, a little bit more guarded on who you want to share your information with and what information you want from other people. So for me, I'm not a screamer. I'm not a screamer either. I've tried, and through the programming and this, the nasty stuff, like strangulation and threats, and the voice left. It could not do it anymore. When I'm in my night terrors, I'm screaming at the top of my internal lungs. You can't get any louder. And it's at the point where on this dimension it comes through as a little tiny, Yeah. But it's really quite terrifying for the people around me, because I've heard my son do it, and it sounds like he's being stabbed. So
when I did the screaming, it was not, it was not like being stabbed. It was a freedom, scream.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah,
no, I'm not really one to go and stand in the paddock and just scream at the top of my lungs.
I needed, both my friend and I were in need of doing that because of the shut down that was done to us, basically.
Yeah.
So we needed to open the lungs, but open because there was no voice coming out first, you know. So we both decided we were going to do this, yeah. We were going to open out. It was just one of these things.
Yeah. Oh, I think we're going to take a break.
Actually, I wanted to come in.
Okay.
Before the break? That's
yeah,
okay.
before we take a break, because what's in my mind right now.
Go
I
for
mean,
it,
unless
Barbara.
you guys, okay.
Go for it, Barbara.
Yeah, well, thank you, you two beautiful sisters. Yeah, a lot of things going on through my mind while you're talking, and you know, I realized I turned 76 in this past December, and you know, I'd realized a while back. It took a long time on this journey, you know, in this life, falling off cliffs and leaping into fires, and yes, and Stone wanting to, yeah, like you, trying to commit suicide and didn't want to be here, and but you know, early on in my life, I got messages very early that I was going to be part of something very special. I didn't know what that was. It wasn't any more information than that. And I think over my life period, you know, I realized I got to a certain point where I could look back and I could say, wow, everything that happened to me brought me to this moment in time. And I continue to say that, meaning that everything that happened to me was meant to happen. And, you know, in the moment of certain circumstances, I could experience it as the worst moment in my life, not realizing there was a gift within the experience, and how it was up to me to find the gift, and it's ever present, you know. In other words, we could look at things as our worst experience in life, and what on earth was I thinking, and why did I choose that, or why did I go that route? But in fact, we could also look at it the other way. Okay, here I am, and now let me look deeply to see if there's a teaching here, a gift, something special to help me to grow, to see things better, and so on, experience this journey in a different way, with a different perspective. So I realized that everything in my life and my story is pretty intense, as I'm sure everyone whom we're speaking to here has their intense, unbelievable stories on experiences that sometimes seem fictional, you know, phenomenon and unbelievable things going on that, you know, if you wrote about them, people would think, well, that's crazy, or that's impossible, or wow. And so, yes, that kind of life, but I've been blessed. I have been held, blessed, protected, even though I have nearly come to points in time when it seemed to be it was the end. Sometimes of my own longing, and sometimes not, but the circumstance would you know, prove to be nearly the end. And so I look at all of that at this point in my life, and I continue to say everything that happened in my 76 years has been amazing and meant to be, brought me here to this moment in time with all of you, you see. It's awesome to be here with you guys, and here on the Mother at this time. And I have no regrets, you know. Oh, there were plenty of regrets way back. There were plenty of regrets and anger and all the, whatever you want to call it, that we go through is all meant to be coming out the other side. I find myself here speaking through this venue on People for People now. I've been on radio for quite a few years now, thanks to my sister Patty, and we talk about how we met up. I call it the meetup on the Medicine Wheel of Life, and the way we were brought together is Spirit's work. I know it. And I feel the same thing with all of you. So I look at the way our journeys are, and it's a big school here, I say. And when I came back from the Kogi, to be with the Kogi in the heart of the world, the Mamos, the elders, and the other people there, I received a message from Spirit that now is the time. We have reached this point in timeline where we must come to rely upon the inner wisdom, the inner knowledge, and those that have walked with us, have traveled with us in many lifetimes, and significantly this lifetime, that are our teachers and our guides. To throw the books away, okay, because the books tell us one thing, but our inner guide, inner wisdom, and the ancestors walking with us, have another message. For instance, like dreams. There's dream books. There's books on animals, what this animal meant, what that animal meant. If you see the animal this way and that, it means that for you, and so on. This dream, if you have a water dream, it means this. If you have a dream of that, it means so and so. But in fact, that's not true. Because these dreams, and these visitations, these experiences, and the showing of itself a spirit of an animal, for instance, will actually be different than it would for another person. You understand what I'm saying? You understand, right? So it is the timeline now that we must go in to our own heart spirit and open the doorway to the wisdom that we have come here with. Rely on no book written by man. Rely on no one else, guru or this one or that one. We are to become our own enlightened being. I can't make you enlightened. I can't, I have some ideas and gifts and teachings I could share with you, but ultimately it is up to you to take that final step, to turn to the source, within you, right? So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Indeed, sister, very true. All we do is share, we share our experience, our love, our hearts really, We can't make anyone, and we're not even trying to make anyone experience what we experience, or, everyone has got their own path, isn't it?
Absolutely. But I mean, we help. You see, you were put here to help people. I was, like Stone said, I realized that, it took me a while, I realized that the experiences that I had, that I'm talking about the ones that were traumatizing, the ones that were difficult and challenging, so those experiences, the Creator led me to experience, allowed me later on to help others who are having a similar experience. So that's the gift, you see.
Yes. Well, this has been really, what can I say, a most wonderful sharing. About Patty, Barbara, Stone, Star's gone already. Everyone has done amazing sharing. It's an amazing experience, amazing sharing, beautiful moments we have been having here. Patty, are you here?
I am.
Oh, my sister. And I thought we'll get on for the last few minutes together and then call the girls and we have a giggle and say goodnight to everyone. But yes, I think our sharing here is important, and I sort of wanted to bring you in because we started in together today. And you and I do have quite a fair similarities, as you know, in our experience, and understand each other quite well. And I think you know what I mean when I'll say that where we are now is a reflex of where we walked before, but where we stand now is also a reflex of where we're going, because now is when we make the choices. And yes, we've had whatever it is that happened in our past that made us who we are today, help us to get to where we are today. From here is our choice, isn't it, sister? From here on. And
Yeah, it is.
And that choice we also made all the way to get us to where we are. And for me, being here in People for People, and it's been an amazing journey to get here. And if I wasn't here, I wouldn't have met you. And for that I am grateful, and gratefulness has always been a part of my journey. Love,
Indeed.
and I truly love you, sister, and I love everyone, as you know, because I'm a bit of a love bubble. And
yes, you are. Well, the thing of it is that it came back to synchronicity that we're all here. I have heard some of the most beautiful and amazing wisdoms today. What an extraordinary show. To be able to come together from all different walks of life, as we were talking about before. Each of us have our own stories to tell. We have our own experiences. Yet, throughout our lives, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent experiences that we have had has brought us all together here, and we're sharing the similarity of the source together. We've made that connection. There are differing levels. There should never be the same level. I mean, we're not cookie cutters. We weren't meant to be. We come from the source, but the expression of that source is left to us here in this physical realm. What a wondrous thing that is that we can be a part of something greater than anything and everything that is continuous, that has no end and no beginning. Yet here we are experiencing it in a totally different realm of experience.
Yes.
You know, this to me is just, it blows my mind whenever I think about the fact that I exist, that I can experience, and the gratefulness that you talk about. That is uppermost. You know, when we can look at life, even in the darkest times, when we can look at life and see beauty, even in those dark times, then we have to realize that we are something so much greater, and that there is a part of us that is so much greater than this experience. And that with that connection, we are still able to see. I mean, looking out my window right now, the trees, I look at them and I say, how wondrous that these things exist.
Yes.
That they're actual life, that they have lives of their own, and they are right here next to me, that they are existing with me. And I want to know that tree.
Yes.
I want to know that life. I want to see it in all its beauty, you know. Even everything, you know, the children, the plants, the birds, the forest. When I look at everything, when I look at life, it's like I'm floored at just how wondrous this is. It's amazing to me. And I'm so grateful. I am so grateful to be a part of life, you know. And it's easy to love. It's easy to love when you see the diversity and the sheer wonder of what we are part of, you know?
Yeah.
Just so.
When you look around, and you truly look around from your heart point of view, from your spirit soul. Love is truly the only thing that is there, yeah. If you really are in contact with that. And yes, nature is just wonderful, and we are wonderful. We just need to embrace it. Okay, well, we're getting very close to the end. I thought perhaps we all get together, have a bit of a giggle. And I would love to say thank you to Barbara. Thank you for your sharing. It's been beautiful, sister. Amazing sharing as always. Thanks, Stone. Amazing sharing. Great to have you as part of the family. Thank you very much. Very touching, very beautiful sharing too. And Patty, as always, love to be with you. Thank you ever so much for your sharing. You're so wonderful, so full of insight, so full of life, so full of love. Such a beautiful sister. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Girls, come in, say good night to people on chat room.
I just want to say one more thing. I want to say that coming up Monday after the Love Bubble, there will be Turtle Tunes. I will be doing a Monday night show following the Love Bubble. I just want to put that in there on PFP Radio. Okay.
Great.
Love you guys.
Love you, everyone, and thank you so much for being here with us today. And yeah, really, really a beautiful show. Thank you, Pilamaya Dog Show.
Stein?
I was making sure I waited my turn. I'm just looking at the mics going off and on.
Yeah.
I just like thank you everybody for getting together and sharing your journeys. It's really good, and I can see really good energy coming from this for everybody. So be well, and thank you everybody out there who's listening, and see you again.
Okay, thank you everybody. Thanks for everyone that has joined us to listen to People for People Thursday Roundtable Show. We did it for you. We did it with love. As always, thank you for being with us.